You can't get better than number 1. herO showing us, though, he doesn't care. This isn't the ladder. This is a best of 3. You're not against a random barcode. You're not against the generic meta at the time, the zeitgeist of whatever the Starcraft 2 experts deem to be the best. You are against a specific person, a specific player with a specific style, and you've got time to prepare. Let's see if Patience can overcome herO now in game number 2. Introducing our players down here in the bottom left. Our very talented Patience. And his opponent, a legend amongst anybody who loves Protoss, it's herO. Already very different builds. Patience is going for the tech build, and herO is going for the fast expand. Not just any fast expand, the fastest expand a Protoss can do. Showing us that he can really mix up his styles and play the full gamut of what is Protoss. Probe coming back here in the bottom left, taking that Nexus. So it doesn't look like Patience is doing anything too dramatic with the tech build. He might just be opening up for some possible adept pressure. We're going to have to see. The cybernetics core is being made. And yeah, let's just go ahead and see what happens. PvP, it's a matchup where there are so many different builds, so many different ways to approach the game. And, you know, this game is very fresh. I think what Blizzard did in Starcraft 2 for PvP was a really good thing. It was a great matchup in Brood War, but it only had, you know, maybe 2 or 3 forks in the road that you could take, whereas I think PvP in StarCraft 2, you really get to see how a player strategically can develop and blossom. We saw 2 very different builds. It was a back-and-forth game last game, but ultimately herO did have that proper tech. He was able to engage with those Archons. That Disruptor had that money shot blowing up so many of Patience's units. Maybe if Patience was better placed, had more pylons there to help defend, maybe it would have been a different story. But right now, he's down 1 game in what is, as it always is, an unforgiving best of 3, man. You want to beat somebody you're better than, man? Do a best of 5. Do a best of 7. You got more time to download what they're doing. You got more time to adjust your play. Best of 3, not so much about the adjustments in the game. It's much, much more about how you prepared before you got in that booth. How much research did you do? Not to say that it's not important in a best of 5 or a best of 7, but what I do intend to get at here is that it's just much more unforgiving. Note that cute placement there of the pylon. That is to pair with the fact that the Adept is coming up here into the entrance, shading forward here, going to where the probes are. He wants to get as many probe kills as possible. No, he's not. He's actually going to back out. I thought he was actually going to go for it, but I guess not. So he does stay back here, just using that to poke in, and once again shade forward and scout. We also have the Mothership Core coming into the back here. This may be the moment he was waiting for to possibly pressure up here with the Adepts. Note that more Adepts are coming up. Now, if herO micros is correctly in the back, he should not lose a single probe. And that's where the Mothership is going to have to head back home. Although there was a minor interruption there for the builds. Patience, yeah, now goes back home. So herO is going to stabilize this a little bit more. And I do love the pylon there, by the way, by herO. We've seen this a little bit more because Protoss are not just, you know, massing up Stalkers, for instance, or at least in most cases at the start of the game. You're usually being aggressive with the Depths. You're teching into Stargates. Why not make a pylon where the expansion is? I like it. We have the Adept coming in over here. This really shows you just how much damage an Oracle can dish out. Normally we see it just attacking workers, but yeah, kind of kill an Adept pretty effectively. So he's blocked off the expansion over here with this pylon. However, despite all that, it is going to be Patience that gets his Nexus up first and foremost. herO shortly after. The Adept doing a little bit of harass here. We've seen workers get, you know, hit from both sides. It is 42 workers for Patience to the 39 for herO. herO in a little bit of a deficit. And hold on one second, guys. I'm just going to get a drink of water. You can have your imaginary caster friend fill in for me for just a second. And I'm back. I missed you guys. It was so difficult not being around you guys, but this is a solo cast. Had to stay hydrated. Much easier to lose your voice when you're doing something like this. Oracle now rotating up here to the upper right. Possibly going to go for some probe kills. As far as upgrades go, we have Blink coming here from herO. A little bit under halfway done. Once again, Patience. He seems to be the guy that gets that +1 attack early every time. Is that a good thing, though? Last game, he was way ahead in upgrades. He was at 1-1, almost at 2-1, by the way, before that attack started. And it was handled brilliantly there by herO. He just engaged correctly. Probes now being transferred here to herO's third base. This is going to cause a gateway explosion as the income actually begins to kick in from that. Mass Immortals is the name of the game. Also note, Patience is pooling Phoenixes. There's a big difference between the player sending his Phoenixes out right away and him hiding them. When you get enough Phoenixes, it can turn the tide of a game. We also have herO, by the way, getting some Phoenixes of his own, but it's not going to be comparable. It would almost be better, I would think, if he wasn't going for Phoenixes now that he's already behind. As we saw in our previous best of 3, you know what happens when one player just gets a substantial lead in Phoenixes. I mean, there's not a ton that you can do to deal with it. And the fact that one player is hiding his Phoenixes and the other player is making some Phoenixes of his own, but it's not turning out to be as effective, that could be a bit of an issue. Yeah, I think it would have almost been better if he just stuck with Ground Army and maybe tried to win with a different kind of timing attack, but let's see how this goes. You know, herO is somebody who can kind of win in any situation. I do love the placement, by the way, of Patience Phoenixes. You know, Warp Prisms, they just keep getting better and better in Starcraft 2 and better in the meta, as we've seen. On all matchups, Warp Prisms, I mean, you know, people talk about, you know, how strong the Adept is. That unit would not be anywhere near as good if the Warp Prism was not in this game, guys. That is, it's a very powerful unit. And the fact that he has these Phoenixes spread out, or did previously, to catch that Warp Prism is pretty smart. That's an easy way where you're crossing your T's and you're dotting your I's, that if he sent that out there, you could just win the game. Oh, look at this. He has the Phoenixes picking off the probe that would be sitting in their base out here. Are we going to have a pylon, by the way, built with this expansion? Could be a possibility. As the game moves forward, idle Warp Prism over here for herO. The Phoenix is now in the active phase of the game, continuing to rotate around. We do see Patience taking that fourth base at roughly about the same time as herO. Things are beginning to heat up. We are going to have an engagement coming here shortly. As far as unit compositions go, whoops, give me one more second. I'm doing this off of 2 PCs. It is Patience here with the 4 Immortals. He's got about 7 Phoenixes out. Not a lot of Stalkers, but for herO, similar to our previous game, he's already entered into the Archon tech. 3 Archons, 3 Immortals, not as many Immortals as his opponent, but that can make a pretty big difference. Archons are maybe the only unit that's not a Phoenix that can answer a Phoenix threat pretty easily, because Phoenixes tend to clump up. When you start to pick up units, the Archons do their splash damage, and everything dies. And similar to the previous game, we do have a number of Archons entering into what seems to be a timing here. It does seem that Patience learned from the previous game and is actually getting enough pylons here that if he needs to burst down a ton of damage, he certainly can. They are a response from herO, a rotation over here to the second base. Also a place with a good number of pylons. Let's see how effective this actually is. Coming in now. Note the angle here for Patience, not very good. It's a bit of a bottleneck up there. This is going to have a lot of great surface area. The Phoenixes are coming up. Are they going to be able to connect correctly? Archons smashing the force fields here. Another pickup. He picks up the 2 Immortals. We have these Archons over here in the front. The 3 Archons coming down here. It does seem that there's definitely an Immortal advantage. It's really starting to pay off. Once these Immortals can get back to where those Stalkers are, herO's in a lot of trouble. herO identifies that and retreats immediately. Really well done there by Patience. I mean, that was pretty straightforward. I think that could have been what the last game looked like if he was a bit more equipped to deal with the timing attack. Now, what does Patience do from here? Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, he just makes out of his gateways and his Stargates, whatever he wants to make out of, warps in units, and probably just does a timing attack. I don't even think it's that important where he attacks as long as he's vigilant about the possibility of a counterattack. Phoenix is coming in here. And it looks like he wants to push up on the side here. He's going to run into these Adepts. These Adepts might have been the only units that could possibly draw Patience back into his base. And let's see. Phoenix is coming down now. The Stalker's trying to drive them away. I think we're almost at that point of no return, though. I mean, the number of Immortals that we have here is at a comical level. And especially when, you know, it's a little bit like the factory tech in a Terran versus Terran, you know, when you lose all your tanks. It's kind of like that for robo units in PvP. I mean, you're not going to have like 6 robo bays making Immortals, so it's something where you can almost never catch up, which really does make your other units not as effective. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'm wondering if Patience realizes just how ahead he is, because he doesn't see the supplies we do. He's edging forward now. Got to be careful about those Archons. They can just shoot down your Phoenixes pretty easily. He's coming forward now. The angling here is superior for Patience. And he's starting to do this attack. Let's see how herO does. herO coming down here with his Psystorm. Phoenix is doing some good pickups. Zealots charging into the front. We do see the supplies rapidly beginning to even up here. Plenty of Archons being warped as well as the Immortals gun them down before they finish coming in. 149 supply to 106. Also note, bottom right base is being taken as Patience continues to keep the pressure on. Not the best engaged in the world, but he did unpower those gateways. If he just keeps on warping in and pushing, I think Patience should have the ability to close this out. Another warp in here. Templars, he may make those into Archons. He may just have the right timing to where he can use Psystorm. Nope, he's just going to go for the Archons here. All he really has to do is take out one of these bases. The Zealots, the Immortals coming down now, tagging the rest of this army. Warp-ins from herO coming behind. herO trying to play from the defense. It's going to be pretty tough. So many Immortals here. He backs up. He probably wants to just milk the energy off the pylons and then try to re-engage when it's an even more favorable fight. Continuing to poke in here. Patience, staying true to his name here, is not overextending. He's being very smart, very calm. And I think this is where push comes to shove. I think herO's going to be forced to engage here. He's not going to have as good of an arc. And the attack is on, man. Not enough Immortals here. But herO's control has been pretty good so far. There's a time warp right now. Starting to back up. Actually, I gotta say, this is like immaculate control here from herO. I don't think he's gonna win it, but he's doing a pretty damn good job. The Zealots reinforcing here is really what's gonna allow these Immortals to continue to deal the damage that they are dealing. We see that once again used there. You know, herO just seems to be doing the impossible. I'm looking at the supplies. I'm seeing the reinforcements come in. It's pretty impressive what herO's managing to do with such a small number of units. But ultimately, that Nexus does go down, and that only puts Patience in more of a lead. herO desperately trying to expand now, taking the center right base with probes soon to be transferred to that location. Patience just slowly and carefully whittling down his opponent. And I think this is pretty smart. I mean, if you really want to win, if you really want to get ahead, and frankly, if you want to get rank 1 on the ladder like Patience is right now, you have to be, no pun intended, but really patient. I know it's epic to like stop their attack and then just dive in and micro your heart out and wreck them, but I mean, if you want to have consistent, solid results, playing like this is probably the way to do it. And I think we will probably be seeing GG here as it is becoming more and more apparent that there is just no way on earth that herO can come back in this game. There it is, GG. We're tied up now, 1-1. Maybe Patience is going to beat herO. That'd be pretty sick, guys. So, in that last game, you know how I've been talking about how, you know, the best of 3, you don't have as much time to adjust. Doesn't mean you can't adjust at all. Game 1, we saw him, I should say Patience, I should be specific, this is a mirror matchup. We saw Patience do a pretty good job as far as upgrading, right? He was ahead 1-1, he almost had 2-1. And I mean, at that point in time, herO's Forge was just finishing. But herO took the advantage he did have. He had a superior tech, he had more developed units. And he engaged on that expansion. Patience was not ready for it.